Gentlemen, children of all ages, gather around. It is time for The Drop, which is a weekly series where I pretty much sit down and break down what new video games are coming out over the course of the next week so that you guys know what is available if you do want to pick up something new. And this week is a pretty big week for fans of World of Warcraft. You've got Legion coming out, you've got Resident Evil 4 Remastered, new Nuka-World DLC for Fallout 4, and the Turing Test is an interesting one that I thought to include on Xbox One and Steam, as well as a complete edition of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. First off, we have World of Warcraft Legion coming to the PC. Now, before I even read this description, I want to make it very clear that I know very little about the World of Warcraft. I've probably played it for about 2 or 3 hours just to see what it was, but that wasn't anything more than just going past a couple of side quests and, finding out what exactly the game had to offer. It just wasn't my thing, but I know a ton of people do love this game, and it's still the most subscribed to MMORPG to date. So with all of that being taken into account, the Tomb of Sargeras has been reopened and the demons of the Burning Legion pour into our world. Their full terrifying might is fixed on summoning the Dark Titan to Azeroth, and they've already located the key to his return. With the Alliance and Horde devastated, only you can take up Warcraft's most legendary artifacts, scour the ancient Broken Isles for relics of the Titans, and challenge the Legion before Azeroth's last hope dies. Steel yourself, champion! Extinction is imminent. And I also put a note here that said the big selling point is the new Demon Hunter class, an elf that has the powers of the Fel, which actually sounds pretty cool from what I understand. So now, how exactly do I personally feel about Legion? I'm interested in it from kind of a numbers perspective. You guys know me, I like to see the subscriber changes if they do choose to release them, if the subscriber numbers are big enough, because Blizzard hasn't been doing that recently. They said they wouldn't anymore, but I have a feeling if they are as significant as I think they will, or they will be, they'll probably end up releasing them. But aside from that, I want to see fan reception. How are hardcore fans of the franchise actually enjoying Legion? That's what I personally like to see. Now, of course, people are going to be like, you can't talk about this without knowing what you're talking about. Why are you saying stuff about WoW? I appreciate World of Warcraft and I appreciate Legion a lot like I appreciate watching football. I like watching a good game of football. I'll root for one team or another, and I have what I want to happen, and that's exactly how I watch World of Warcraft. However, I have absolutely no idea what all those little technicalities and macros and rating and how you build your character. I don't know what any of that is. Aside from all of that, it did, create my favorite episode of South Park ever, Make Love Not Warcraft. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Now, for those that are interested in learning more about Legion and wanting to check out some gameplay of it, I would highly recommend following Tally over on twitch.tv/Tally. I'll put him in the description box down below, but this guy is huge into World of Warcraft. He's one of the most famous streamers, and he does make it enjoyable for those that are into the game, for those that are, novice players like me that only play it occasionally, if ever at all. I don't even think I have it installed right now. But he's just a really entertaining guy, and he has a great personality, so definitely check him out if you did want to see what the game was all about. Next up, Resident Evil 4 Remastered on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. In Resident Evil 4, U.S. agent Leon S. Kennedy must investigate the kidnapping of the president's daughter by a mysterious cult known as Los Illuminados. Obviously, that is the Illuminati in Spanish. Leon's search brings him to a rural village in Europe where he encounters a horde of unimaginable horrors and must fight to uncover who or what is behind it all. With gameplay focused on visceral gunplay, this critically acclaimed chapter in Resident Evil Saga revolutionized the series, which is in fact true. Resident Evil 4 boasts chilling and action-packed encounters with enemies en masse in mysterious, booby-trapped areas. With the ability to fire more ammunition and defeat more foes at once, the gameplay in Resident Evil 4 contains some of the most frenetic and intense combat. That was a very poor choice of word. Frenetic, intense combat in the series to date. So how exactly do I feel about Resident Evil 4 HD/Remastered, whatever you want to call it, PlayStation 4, Xbox One edition? I think this is a very influential game in the Resident Evil series because it pretty much kickstarted Resident Evil to become what it became with Resident Evil 6, which was not a good game by any stretch of the imagination. I personally like the setting and the gameplay of Resident Evil 5. That being said, Resident Evil 4 makes some huge strides with the gameplay of the entire series, if I understand it correctly. Pretty much before Resident Evil 4, there's that notorious aiming mechanic where you can only go up and down on your enemy, and you can pretty much shoot them anywhere in the torso. That's what it was always, meant to be. However, with Resident Evil 4, instead of having crosshairs or introducing some kind of new mechanic, they actually used a laser sight, and with this laser sight, you can kind of dictate where your bullet is going to hit your enemy. If you shoot them in the head, it's pretty much a kill shot almost every time, if they are human, obviously. If you shoot them in the hand, they drop whatever they're carrying. If you shoot them in the foot, they stumble a little bit. It was a very interesting thing to bring into the franchise, and it was kind of a good way to explore new ways to play Resident Evil overall. So that being said, if you haven't played Resident Evil 4, this is the best opportunity to check it out with the best looking graphics on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Very cool opportunity. If it's on PC that you're playing on, you can already get this game. It's been out for a couple of years now. It's pretty much the original, just boosted up a little bit. All of that being said, Resident Evil 4, you know, we've had this game for a while, but if you want to check it out, it's coming out this week on the newest generation of consoles. Next up, we've got Fallout 4's Nuka-World DLC. Take a trip to Nuka-World, a vast amusement park, now a lawless city of raiders. Explore an all-new region with an open wasteland and park zones like Safari Adventure, Dry Rock Gulch, Kitty Kingdom, and the Galactic Zone. Lead lethal gangs of raiders and use them to conquer settlements, bending the Commonwealth to your will. Nuka-World features new quests, raiders, weapons, characters, and more. Enjoy the ride! Now, as far as Fallout 4 DLC goes, I haven't personally played any of it firsthand. I've watched a ton of people play it. That being said, I never did get around to it. I finished the story in Fallout 4, but I went really hard whenever the game first came out, and so I got pretty burnt out on it. I played it for probably about 2 or 3 weeks straight, not playing anything else, and so I pretty much saw everything I wanted to see within the game, and I still haven't gotten the chance to go back and really dive into the wasteland the way that it deserves to be dove into. That being said, the DLC has blown me away for Fallout 4, especially Far Harbor. That was pretty much entire game aside from Fallout 4, and that's something that should definitely be applauded. Now, aside from that, there have been a couple of little workshop enhancements here and there that do have some side quests included in them, but overall, it's just added little tiny technical things to the game that I do think are necessary. But with Nuka-World being the final piece of DLC, I feel like people wanted a little bit more, and I feel like Bethesda wanted to give a little bit more. So with Nuka-World, it's not quite Far Harbor. It doesn't have quite as much content in it, but it's certainly more than just your little contraptions workshop or whatever you might have. So for those that have been waiting for a new piece of significant DLC for Fallout 4, I think this one is definitely going to be a nice light-hearted change of pace. You're not going to be emotionally devastated necessarily. I might be wrong about that. You never know with Bethesda. But it looks to be a pretty fun piece of DLC to end on, and it does look to be pretty content heavy. So for those that have been waiting for a new piece of DLC, or perhaps Season Pass owners, Nuka-World is hitting this week on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. Fingers crossed everything goes off without a hitch. Next up, we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition, which is obviously pretty much the same base game with all the DLC for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. That being said, become a professional monster slayer and embark on an adventure of epic proportions. Upon its release, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt became an instant classic, claiming over 250 Game of the Year awards. Now you can enjoy this huge, over 100-hour-long open-world adventure, along with both its story-driven expansions worth an extra 50 hours of gameplay. This edition includes all additional content, new weapons, armor, companion outfits, new game modes, and side quests. Now for this particular game, this is one that really caters to high school and college kids that are absolutely broke, because this thing is $50. That includes 100 hours of The Witcher 3 and 50 hours of its DLC. That is 150 hours, and for those that really want to get lost in this world with potions and with armor and with weapons and just want a really in-depth universe to get lost in, and you really want to get some bang for your buck, this is a game that needs to be checked out. I never did get out of, I believe, the first act. No, I got to the second act, and then I was just like, I need to take a break, and I just never went back. There is so much to see in this game, and Novigrad, I believe, is where the majority of the game does take place, but I believe it's the entire world is called the continent. That's what it is. But you should definitely check this one out if you haven't had the chance yet, and if you wanted to play all the DLC, it is a huge time investment, but I am sure it's absolutely worth it, because CD Projekt Red has officially become the absolute king of storytelling with this release. So last but not least, we have the Turing Test coming to Xbox One and Steam. Now, I initially wasn't going to mention this game, but after looking up some gameplay, it looks absolutely gorgeous, and I think it got some kind of Game of the Show award at E3 for just how good its graphics were for an indie title. All of that being said, the Turing Test is a first-person puzzler from the developers of Numa Breath of Life that explores the phenomena of consciousness and challenges the meaning of human intuition. Take control of Ava Turing, an engineer in the International Space Agency, and process through a narrated story of introspection and morality whilst uncovering the hidden mysteries of Europa. Delve into the Turing Test human interaction puzzles and arm yourself with logical logical and methodical, wow, there's a lot of density in this, thinking take on the test designed in such a way that only a human could solve them. In an evolving story based on mankind's inherent need to explore, protect, and survive, players search deeper into Europa's ice-crusted core and transcend the line between man and machine. Investigate the truth behind the ISA research based on Jupiter's moon Europa. This is where it gets interesting. Tune back in now. Bring it back in with me. Solve puzzles using your energy manipulation tool to transfer power out from one object and into the other. Power up and take control of artificially intelligent machines, manipulate giant structures, and solve complex tasks, all woven into a multi-layered story based on the human struggle for control. The Turing Test can only be experienced through the interactive medium of video games. The Turing Test sparks your synapses into action in this electrifying new first-person puzzler as players learn the true cost of retaining human morality. Now, as far as what I think about this, it looks gorgeous, like I said, on the Xbox One, on Steam especially, it looks just great. You need to check this game out. Aside from this gameplay that I'm showing right here, go look for yourself, see what this game has to offer before you do purchase it, but it does have kind of a Portal 2 feel. Obviously, you don't have a portal gun, but rather you're transferring energy from one place to the other, and that's pretty much the premise of the game. Now, that being said, it has that same kind of feel as Portal, where you're, you know something's off, has kind of a somber, eerie tone to it, but you just keep following instructions. So for those that are looking for that specific kind of experience, the Turing Test, it looks absolutely great. If it's an indie title that you're into, definitely check it out. Now, I was going to talk about Verdun, which is coming to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. It's been on the PC for a couple of years, but in light of it being delayed on the Xbox One, I thought we would go ahead and wait and talk about that at a later date whenever it does hit the Xbox One, which more than likely will probably be by the end of the month or the first of the next month, September. We'll just have to wait and see, but it is a great game if you're already on the PC. Check it out on the PlayStation 4, but make sure that it does run well before you purchase it. So there you guys have it. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of The Drop. If you did, drop me a like down below and let me know what new games are catching your attention. Anything particular stand out this week, drop it in the comments section. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel or you've never seen any of my other content, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week. So there's always something new right here on the channel when you drop by to watch some videos. But as for right now, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.